Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Christine Williams.
And it's the midweek version of Fiber Talk, that twice weekly podcast thing for needle lovers.
It's different every time now. I kind of like it.
I know. It's variety. Yeah. I've learned from Jane, you got to change the name every time out, just as a thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So before we even get started, I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna interrupt myself. So I'm doing this online Craftsy Class, right? And what I noticed, because I don't often listen to us, so I was listening to the instructor, and as she's stitching, she's not doing a needlepoint piece, she's doing an embroidery piece. And it's only when I'm listening to a recorded piece that I really, really noticed it. There's a very specific sound that is associated with the thread going through fabric, right? And it's different when it's the sound of thread going through canvas. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, sure.
Right? And I noticed it because the mic happened to be picking it up really, really well. And it's that snap when the needle goes through and the thread starts coming through, and there's that very distinct sound. And so I noticed, so as the instructor's talking and she's demonstrating a stitch, I was lulled into this sort of feeling of, it was almost like a meditative thing, because just that sound, the repetitive sound of the needle and the thread going through. And it was the greatest thing. And I realized that that's a lot of, I think, sort of the soothing portion of this task is that sound. And I wanted to know what your opinion of that was, if you've ever noticed it, or if you find it the same way, or if I'm just crazy.
No, I've noticed it, and now that you bring it up, it's very satisfying.
It is, right?
Yeah, there's that satisfying, and now it's like shooting a basket and nothing but net. It's that sound. You go, that's just right.
It is. Yes. So I'm going to just say that I often will stitch while we're recording. So I'm not going to apologize if anyone hears that sound while we're recording, because that is exactly what that is. It's needle and thread through fabric.
Oh, that's a good call. Had never thought about that. Yep. It is very satisfying now. Yeah.
It's just a good
hypnotic
feeling. It is.
Yes.
It is. Especially when you get into a rhythm of, if you're doing, if you're covering a big area of something with a satin stitch or a basket weave or Bargello stitches, anything that's just, repetitive, right? Because then you're just in that rhythm and you have just a repetitive, it's like a metronome, right?
Yep.
Or a cradle rocking, all of those things that rock a baby to sleep.
Oh, good call. Oh.
So.
All right. Exploring the psychology of stitching right here. No, because see that, we were talking last week about stress. Mm-hmm. And there, okay.
Yeah. So basically, I'm still trying to figure out a justification to bring my needlepoint to work, and do it in meetings. So as stress relief. So I'm just building a justification. That's what it is.
Just do it. You don't need justification. Just do it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And it's funny because my job, it's pretty well balanced male to female ratio. But the task that I'm working on right now is in the factory, where it is, most of my meetings are all men and me, and it's in the factory, and it's very, blue collar-y kind of thing. So I'm already, very much a minority and an anomaly. So if I were to walk in and start doing needlepoint, I think they would probably just look at me and roll their eyes and go, oh, whatever. So, yeah, I probably could do that.
I like the concept last week of Christine stitching, clear the room. It's gonna explode if we don't get out of here. I like that.
That's right. Because something must be going on if she's stitching.
See,
right?
I like that whole scenario. I'm all about that. Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. Now, see, I can't do that because Marg and I work at home and we work on the same we both work for the same company and the same magazines. So if I start stitching in the middle of the day while she's working, then, I'm slacking off on the same jobs so that wouldn't go over well. So
Right.
Yeah. But you can see in meetings, and we don't have meetings. So in meetings, sitting there, because people knit, it's not unusual to knit.
That's true.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's
Go
true.
for it.
And I think so. And sometimes, like, doing a task like that, it actually improves your focus,
Oh, yeah.
Because then you're not sitting there daydreaming and, texting your friends or whatever it is that people do. You're actually sitting there focused a little bit better, I find, anyway.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I like to listen to music when I edit copy.
Exactly.
I go to another world, and then I can really focus. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
There we go. I'm just rationalizing, I think.
Well, I think you're doing an excellent job. Some housekeeping things here. Reminding everyone that our podcasts are on Flosstube. Now, there are like 8 of them, and I'm going to get the rest of them put up. I'm getting so I can do these things fairly quickly, meaning it doesn't take 3 hours. So I'll get the rest of them up. But I am having trouble. If you search Flosstube Fiber Talk, what'll come up is the channel page, and it shows nothing on that page. And the simple fix to make things show up is not working for me, so I'm working on that. But if you just click at the top there on videos, you'll see them all. And I'll start getting more, and I'll get that fixed at some point. But they're all up there, and there's no real video to watch. I put pictures up as the audio goes along, just to have something visual up there. But it's still the podcast, so you just put it on and go about your stitching, and there's nothing you have to watch there. But that's on Flosstube. And then remind everybody about our 2 special videos. One is the tour of samplers that I did with Jean Lee at the attic, and that's been very popular, and that's on Flosstube Fiber Talk. And then the other is our newest one, Mary Mcguire's 10 Favorite Needlepoint Stitches, and that also is there. And that was fun. I've been kind of bugging Mary to let's do another one, because that was so much fun to do. So remind everybody those 2 are there. And speaking of the attic, if you can go to the attic, I'm pretty sure Nicola will be with us in a couple of weeks, and she has a limited edition chart coming up. I can't say any more. A limited edition chart that is, I think, going to be really special. But it's truly limited edition. Like she said, she's only going to print so many. And I got to see an advanced viewing of the video this morning, and oh boy. So line yourself up. And she said in the video that she has shipped the product. I'll just call it the product to the attic. So I don't know when Jean's going to put them up, but I think Nicola's going to release the product next week, if I recall correctly, and the product will be on display at some point at the attic. So if you're in Phoenix area or going there, you'll want to go to the attic to see the product. But
I love how a needlework product has such mystery surrounding it.
Well, I have to say I'm pretty excited about it. I'm anxious for her to release the product, and she's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about it in the background and all the things. But limited edition, so line yourselves up to get it, and because I think, if I understand her correctly, once they're gone, they're gone. So yes, there you go. That's all I can tell you, because she won't let me tell anymore. So. And then I'm pretty excited about this one too. Orna Willis, who will be on the show in 2 or 3 weeks, not sure which, just working on the schedule. Orna is doing, I think, a very cool thing. She has created a design that you purchase the PDF for $20, and I already have mine, and $10 of that goes to the Hispanic Federation. And they're a charity that is helping to do work to rebuild Puerto Rico, rebuild the island, help the people out in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And this design that she did is named Coqui. And Coqui, C-O-Q-U-I, is a frog that is indigenous to Puerto Rico. And so this design, I think the design is really neat, but it's just this basic kind of flat frog shape. And when I first thought, I thought, oh, the colors and the stitching and everything's really nice, but geez, Orna, couldn't you have done a little more with the frog? Well, then I asked her for more information about the design, and she did exactly what she wanted to do. So I'll just read what she sent. She said, Puerto Rico is rich in history. It was originally populated by the indigenous Taino, T-A-I-N-O, Taino people, who dominated the island between the 7th and 11th centuries. The Taino or Taino, I'm not sure, wrote using petroglyphs, which are symbols carved in stone, and evidence of that going back to the 5th century can still be found around Puerto Rico. And these people were decimated by European disease, that's not uncommon, and forced labor as a result of the Spanish colonization of the island, but the symbols they left behind reveal how they envisioned the world around them. And her inspiration for this design came from the Taino symbol for Puerto Rico's Coqui frog. And this is, both of us having the biological background, the Coqui are onomatopoeically.
Onomatopoeia?
Yeah, that, but only with an A-L-L-Y on it. You practice it. Get back to me. Named for the very loud mating call of the frog, the males make at night. But now this is cool. They're unique in that their feet are not webbed, and their eggs hatch into small frogs. The tadpole stage is passed within the egg. I did not know that there was a frog that did that.
No, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So the design that you will see on the in the center of the frog, that is a petroglyph, not Orna's crude effort at making a frog design. So that makes it, way back in history, that's pretty neat. So $20, the PDF is $20. $10 goes to the Hispanic Federation and HispanicFederation.org if you want to check them out. And it's a 7x7 design, uses silk, stranded silk, metallic braids, sequins, and beads. And now I think she released it Monday, and this is Wednesday, and she's already been able to send $450 to the charity.
Which is awesome.
Yes. When you consider it's $10 a thing, do the math. That's pretty good. And she also is offering for $70. She has 5 different colorways. The original one, green, purple, orange, and periwinkle. 5 different ones. Those are $70, and she'll send you the canvas and threads for $70. But still, the $10 of that goes to the charity. So I think that's just a really neat thing that she's doing to help the Puerto Rico people through this charity and through needlework. So, yay, go Orna.
Yes.
Yes. So, and she's going to be on, a couple weeks, whatever we can work it out, and we'll talk about the design and learn more from her and then some other things she's doing. But, so I bought mine. I think I'm just going to stitch it from stash. I've got a couple ideas, but I have my own little chart right there ready to go. So.
And that's going to be fun because then everybody's going to stitch it their own way, and then we'll be able to compare them. Right.
And if you'll recall when she was on, most people won't. When we did a special podcast with her, when we were working on the Come Design With Me, the class she did, where she designed a piece as we went along in the class, and we did a podcast with her and talked about the design, and she uses a light brown canvas rather than white or off-white, and that subject came up, and that turns out is her standard canvas because she finds that visually that canvas and that color just disappears to you visually, and the colors stand out more than if they were on white or cream.
Right.
Yes. So I'm going to try, when I stitch this, I'm going to try with that color of canvas just to see how I like it. So, yeah, good job, Orna.
Cool.
Yep, good job. And so then, helping the people in Puerto Rico, and of course, hurricanes ripping through Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands and Florida, and then, of course, the Houston disaster. The thing that keeps getting forgotten, can we say that?
I think you just did.
I think I did, and I shouldn't have. That's very improper. But it bothers me, all the fires in the Northwest and in California have really not received much coverage, and they are doing easily as much damage as these hurricanes. And
Yes.
It's just an ongoing thing. It's not a storm that passes through. This stuff just won't stop out there. And so on Needlepoint Nation today, Jackie Fletcher started a thread in which Jackie says, with all the fires and hurricanes we're having, the loss of needlework has to be huge. Some of us could have put that same amount of money into a second home, which I think for some is probably pretty true.
Yeah.
So her question is, do we have any insurance adjusters in the group that would give us advice on how to prepare, just in case you ever have to document the loss of your completed needlework, and just in case any of us have this, your stash? I think she was being funny there. I know I don't have all the receipts, thanks. And much discussion about that. And someone even offered somewhere on Needlepoint Nation that if you want to box up your needlework and your stash and send it to them, and I think this person was in Tennessee, that she would be happy to hold it, and then when you got your feet back on the ground, ship it back to you, which I thought was a generous thing. But turns out there are two people in Needlepoint Nation who are actually needlework appraisers and weighed in with some interesting information. Willett Vaughn says, I'm a needlework appraiser, and Willett's site is the needlesworth.com. There'll be a link on the page. And Willett says there are a few of us on Needlepoint Nation. One of the first things we all need to do is have our collections appraised. I'm not trying to solicit work, but as with any personal property, the insurance company will be looking for credible appraised value. And the first thing Willett suggests is a total inventory of your collection, finished and unfinished. Now, this surprised me, finished and unfinished, with pictures. Also, keep your receipts. Yeah, nobody wants to keep those receipts. That's
No.
Yeah, we don't want to face that. I know most of us don't want to have those around for various reasons, but pictures and receipts will help the insurance company when no appraisals are available. And then the last statement, your pieces are art and do have value. And see, I always figured if your house burns down, I mean, there's a lot of things you're going to haul out before you haul out your needlepoint, but that would just be, that's just a loss. That's just the way it goes. But apparently not. Apparently you can get these things evaluated and appraised and document your stash and everything else and recover something. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because the stash is just the value of what you paid for it, right? So that would be covered by homeowners insurance, and it is the receipt. So maybe, you just fold them up and you put them in an envelope and you never look at them again, and that's fine. But you'd have to put them someplace where they're not going to burn up in the same place that your needlework is. So that's the thing we were just talking about, is put them someplace far away, or even better, photograph them on your phone and stow them in an app like Evernote or something like that, so that they're digitally stored. But the other way to think of this is that your finished needlework is completely not the sum of its parts, right? It's not the sum of the threads and the canvas and the infrastructure and all of those things. It is its own entity. It is a piece of art. And so it should be appraised as something completely different. So maybe it is worth having things like that looked at, especially things that are large or very intricate, or things of value to you. Things that are tiny pieces or throwaway pieces that you did that are not, I don't want to say valuable, maybe not, but something that you think you would want some monetary compensation for, then those should be appraised. And then the other thing to think about is you have things appraised so that you can have them replaced, right? That's the whole point of it. So if it's something like jewelry that you can have, photographed and have somebody recreate for you, you have it appraised, or a car you have appraised so that you can have it purchased again. a needlework piece, you're not going to have it replaced. So the best that you can do is to have the monetary value given back to you, but you're never going to have the thing back. So, you have a little bit of comfort in the fact that you can replace the materials and you can start over again. But you're not going to have a like for like replacement. So there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah, and one of these people, the other one is Cindy Lee Manikovsky-Gershon. Well, I'll read her statement. But one of them said that they actually can attach value to the time that you put into it. Because somebody said, well, all right,
yeah.
so they'll replace the thread and canvas, big deal. But no, they have charts that they, based on professional stitchers, that they can at least place some value on the amount of work you put in, so your time and effort gets credit as part of the art, which I was really surprised at that. So yeah, to be able to get that, so now that just the cost of thread and canvas, that changes the whole game, because that, in relative terms, especially a bigger piece when you spent hours and hours, is fairly trivial for the thread and canvas or linen or whatever it is. So
right.
Yeah, and then just go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it does. So it gives you a head start in creating another piece and getting back into your stitching. But there is part of it that is irreplaceable, which is the piece itself.
Right.
So you're never going to get that back, but you'll get something that will help sort of smooth the heartache, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, if that's possible, yes.
Well, it'll help you on your way to create another piece of beauty,
yes.
And to contribute to a little bit of additional, or I guess another piece of joy that you'll be able to create.
Right. And then this Cindy Lee Gershon, to add to Willett's comments, she's also a needlework appraiser. You should contact your insurance agent regarding coverage and what they would need. Some policies will require additional coverage and may need professional appraisals on file. You can always contact one of us or the A&G. Now, I did not know this either. The A&G, American Needlepoint Guild appraisal program, and Cindy will get you in touch with an appraiser in your area. She's the program chairman. So there's a program at A&G for appraisals. And she says also not soliciting business, just providing information. Good to have your items documented before a problem, though we can still help if after need be. So, and it's that insurance thing. How many times have you been told to go through your house with a camera?
Yeah.
And photograph everything, so if you do have a fire that burns your house to the ground, you have proof of what you owned. And how many people have those photos? Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Not me.
No.
But and today you really don't have an excuse, because we carry these cameras around in our pockets all day long, and
we have 7,000 pictures of the meals that we eat, right? And no. Right. So basically, we can have somebody appraise 40,000 breakfasts, but none of the actual things that we need to replace.
Right.
How sad is that?
Well,
sad.
Beyond sad. It really is tragic. Yeah. I don't have a picture of my furniture, but I can show you my chicken dinner from last night. Good for you. Yep. So anyway, so there is value there, and this is just an interesting thread. If you're not a Needlepoint Nation member, there's just an awful lot of good stuff on there. So there
is, and I love the sense of community. There is. It's such a great resource, because you ask a question and there's 30 people that jump in, within 5 minutes, that are so willing to help and answer questions. And, there's never a fear of being a beginner there, because everybody's so willing to help.
Yes.
I really like it. It's such a welcoming community.
Yeah, and that's just welcoming, friendly, kind, helpful, positive. Yeah, all the things that make it enjoyable. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Facebook, Needlepoint Nation. There's a ton of needlework groups, but that's my favorite, definitely. So then this whole disaster thing brought up another thing. Last week I was at a conference for the magazine I edit called Efficient Plant. And I sat in on a talk about cybersecurity. And because that is an area that I'm intensely interested in, because so much of manufacturing anymore is automated, data-based, computers, sensors, all those things. And so the question of cybersecurity comes up. And then, of course, people hacking in or planning malware with the intent of blowing up a plant or shutting down a plant or whatever it might be. Kids who have nothing better to do. And I learned in this conference that it really isn't kids anymore. It's adults. No. It's adults, and for many of them, it's business. It's a way of doing business. And
it's oftentimes bribery.
Yes.
I will steal your data and I will give it back to you for X amount of dollars.
Yeah, it's become black market crime business, and that's just sickening. But because it used to be kids with nothing better to do in the middle of the night, but apparently that's not so much anymore. So this talk was about, they had two guys who had their businesses pretty much destroyed and had to rebuild. And they talked about what they went through. One guy got attacked. He was a global multi-site manufacturer. And when he got attacked by malware, malicious software, when they did the forensics, they discovered that the malware had been sitting in his system for 9 months and had been sitting there collecting and feeding information back to the originators about his system and what it was. And then the way they got into the system was they collected enough information they could get into it legitimately through one of the logons of one of the employees without the employee knowing. Mm-hmm. And basically destroyed everything, wiped out all their data. And the surprising thing with both of these people was that they had their backups on site. And rule number one about having a backup of your data, and it doesn't matter if it's just your home computer or a major corporation, rule number one is you never store your backup on site. You always store it off site somewhere where it's backed up by someone else, and you have to pay, but if you think about it, if you have your backup drive connected to your computer in the house and the house burns down, you never had a backup to begin with, because it all goes with the same fire. So it turns out both of these guys, their IT departments did not have their backup data stored off site. And so therefore they lost all of their backup data along with their regular data. And one of the guys on the panel was from McAfee, the antivirus company, one of the major ones. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, I am absolutely baffled by this. I thought rule number one of backups was to make sure you had your data stored off site. He says that is rule number one, and you'd be surprised at how few people follow it. And I just kind of stood there with my mouth open, and so there I am. And so if you're, I hear it. Am I hearing it?
You are.
It. Yes. The sound of thread through canvas, or through. Is this through? This is your embroidery?
It is. It's through silk shantung and muslin.
There we go. Okay. So we learned. I learned that is, major corporations with giant IT departments do not have. It's not uncommon for them to have their backups on site, and site blows up, or in this case, malware wipes out their backup data right along with their regular data. So there you have it. Pay a little money and have your backup, your computer, even if it's just your own personal little computer, have it backed up off-site. It's really not that expensive. I looked into it, and I looked into it because I don't have my backup data off-site. It's sitting right next to my computer, and I had convinced myself some time ago that invariably when I'm not home, I have my laptop with me almost 98% of the time, so it's separate from the backup. But then after I talked to this guy, I realized it's all in an office, and if sometime in the middle of the night we have a fire and I can't get in the office to grab one or the other, I've lost it all. So I'm going to be getting our data all backed up off-site fairly soon here because, and I looked up, pricing, and it really isn't that terrible pricing. And then I thought, well, all right, is it worth that money? And yeah, it is, because for a lot of people, it's just it's just a ton of photos, and if you lose all
pretty
those,
much.
Yeah. But I have a lot of data that I just don't want to lose. A lot of them are podcasts for Fiber Talk. They're all stored on our system here at home, and that would all be gone. So anyway, some lessons learned there about disaster recovery, and kind of interesting the way it all comes together. And of course, it takes things like massive fires and hurricanes to bring these things to the surface. But take a look at your own situation, because you may need to cover your butt somehow. Mm-hmm. Yep. So what are we stitching there?
What are we stitching? So, have we not talked about this? I feel like we've talked about it a million times.
This is the Craftsy Class, right?
Yes, this is the Craftsy Class. So this is the Celeste Chalasani stump work piece. So right now, I'm actually outlining some leaves in a split stitch. So it's single thread silk, and I'm basically just outlining things. That's really it. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
I've been posting, and I will continue to post some progress pictures on our Instagram, because it's coming along slowly. Which is great, actually, because it's really, what I love about it is, I thought it would be, something I would have to really focus on and be very, sort of concentrate on it. And this part of it is actually the opposite, because it's so precise, and it's such teeny tiny little stitches that it becomes that meditative needlepoint canvas thing where I'm just sitting, stitching teeny tiny little stitches, and it takes forever. And I'm loving it because it becomes mindless, because you're just going along a tiny line.
Tell about the Craftsy Class. I understand those are really excellent. What's that experience been like for you?
So I wasn't sure what it was going to be like going into it, but it was recommended, I think it was recommended to me by somebody on Facebook. So I figured I'd give it a whirl. And Craftsy had a sale, so the class itself was $19. So, not really much of an investment to get into the class. And I was sort of noodling with the stump work, so I figured let me get some instruction and see how it goes. So this is how it works. You log into the site, you create an account, and you pay a little bit of money, you choose your class, and they have hundreds of classes. They have some needlework classes, not a ton. Most of their embroidery classes are machine embroidery classes, actually, but there are a few. And so the way it works is you sign up for your class, and then that goes into your account. And you download a few PDFs that have pictures of the design you're going to do, that have the traceable design. So in this case, it's a design that you trace literally onto your fabric. For a needlepoint class, it would be a chart, I guess, and a list of materials that you need, and a tiny sort of sparse stitch guide. So this is the order of the things you're going to do. These are the threads that go in these different places. And then it is a series of videos that are sort of lessons. And the way it goes is, the beginning is an introduction to stump work. This is what it is. This is how it goes together. This is what it is consisting of. It's surface embroidery. It's raised embroidery. That's, consists of padded stitches and slips and, basically just a description of what it is. And then she walks you through the piece. So you start with this, and then you basically progress through the pieces, and she chooses different elements that are maybe the more challenging bits, or the ones that would trip people up, to walk through in detail. So you just basically work the piece like you would do any other class, I guess, but it's on video. And then for each video, underneath, there's a section where you can ask questions, and you can see all the other questions that have been asked previously. So if you are watching the video and you don't understand something, or you need clarification, or you want to make a comment, you just click on the comment button and you ask your question, and the instructor then pops back in and answers your question. And that's how it works. So you basically are walked through the stitching of an entire piece. You have, I think, 6 months to complete the piece. So it's nice in that way that you can pretty much do it at your own pace. There's no set schedule to it. Once it's in your account, it's yours. And that's it. That's how it works.
Okay, but so 6 months to complete the piece. So you, after those 6 months, the videos aren't available anymore?
I think. I don't know if that's the case. I'm going from memory. So don't quote me on that. But the other element of it is that it's accessible on whatever device you have. So Craftsy has an app, so you can do it through the app, or you can do it on your computer. So I've downloaded it on my computer to print up the things. So I printed it and put it in a little binder, and I have all of my threads in little bags attached into the binder. So it's all organized nicely. And then I have the app on my phone. So when I'm ready to, look at something, or if I need clarification on something, or I need to check something, I just open up the app and pop into the class and watch a little bit of the video again, or check the stitch guide or whatever it is that I need to know. I can just look at my phone. So it's pretty handy that way.
And these videos are really well done, I assume?
Yeah, they're pretty high quality, actually. They're actually really impressive. They're professionally done. It makes me kind of envious, actually, the way they're put together. And Celeste is a great teacher. She's got a really nice mannerism, and she definitely knows her stuff, and her stitching is spectacular, really is. So I think we should pursue her as a guest. And the piece itself is beautiful. It really is. And it does a really good job of demonstrating quite a few different techniques in this particular style. So I would highly recommend this style of class, especially for people that have tough schedules, because, like I said, you can do it anytime you want. If you like tonight, it will probably start doing a little bit at 10 o'clock at night when we have time, or 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes, whenever I happen to have a few minutes to pop in and do stuff.
And $20, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they do sales, and then you can go in, if you go in through the instructor's website, then it's often less expensive, and they get more, the instructor gets paid more for the class. So that's a better way to do it than just through Craftsy. But there's hundreds of classes in beadwork, in embroidery, knitting, crochet, like a million different kinds of crafts. So, you could spend quite a bit of time perusing that and finding things that you would like to do or like to learn how to do.
I have to check that out because it was, yeah. I think it was Labor Day. Mary Corbett with 1T posted that all day Labor Day you could go and watch anything for free, any class for free. Mm-hmm. And I was going to check it out, and then the day was gone. And
I have to admit, I was not expecting a lot, and I was very pleasantly surprised because it was a lot better than I expected.
All right.
A lot better.
And that's just Craftsy, CRAFTSY.com.
Correct.
All right. Have to check this out. So, all right, one more item, then we got to get out of here. So, and speaking of stitching at all hours, Kathy Tula Brink on Stitch Mania. There are days that I can only stitch for half an hour, but by the time I get my stitching out, pattern out, light fixed, etc., I've lost most of my half hour. How do you guys get yourself organized so you can spend more of that half hour stitching? And of course, then there's a long list of responses that all basically say you leave it out. You set yourself up and you leave it out so you can sit down and stitch. And I mean, that's what I do. You know, it's sitting out, it's ready to go. I could go downstairs right now, and in less than 5 minutes, I could be stitching. And
so,
yeah.
yes. So that said, I feel for where the question is coming from, because some people don't have that option. As somebody who has had the experience of leaving one stitching out and having
cat vomit,
having sad things happen to it. So, yes, so I do that. I leave my stitching out and I cover it, right? So that, and Nicola had said that too. So she leaves hers out, but she covers it with a pillowcase. I leave mine out. I put it on an ottoman in the living room where I'm stitching, and I cover it with something. And actually, it's in a room where I can shut the door. But if I were to leave it in a place where children and or animals or other people could get to it, I would cover it with something waterproof now.
Yes.
But also when I'm traveling, like if I'm at somebody else's house, I have things in plastic bags. So I just tuck it into a plastic bag and throw everything together in a plastic bag.
Yep. I cover everything up. I cover up the piece I'm working on, but I also cover up, I have a little basket where I keep all the threads for the current project in there. And then I keep that covered because with my job and my life, which is I'm sure not much different than yours, it may be a couple of days before I can get back to it. So I don't want any dust, and I don't want any light hitting those threads. I keep them covered so that we don't have anything. I mean, not that a couple of days is going to fade thread, but I just keep it all covered up, and then it's a matter when I sit down to stitch, just whip off the covers and have at it. And then I still do that favorite trick of mine when I finish a session, when I'm going to stop. Then I set up the next thread.
You come up.
Yep. I anchor it, and I make at least half, if not a full stitch, so that when I come back, I know right where to start. I can pick up the needle and go. And
yeah, I've taken on that tip as well, and that's been one of the greatest things, because then you never have that feeling of like, oh, where am I?
Right. You don't have to study the chart. You don't have to figure out where you're at. None of that. You just pick it up and go. Yep. And that has that's been a difference maker in a big way for me, because it really it gets you stitching, and you're just up and running, and you're making progress immediately. So yep.
So and I guess part of it is, set yourself up a station, give yourself that gift. Right. I think that's maybe what it comes down to, is if you have to set up a chair in a corner, and if your family doesn't like it, tell them too bad. Give yourself that gift. If it's a half an hour a day, and if you're wasting it because you have to, cater to everyone else because you have to put everything away and get it out of the way, give yourself the gift of that half an hour and leave your stuff out. Find a place, and if you have to throw a bed sheet over it because it's in the corner somewhere, then that's what you do. And sometimes you have to tell everyone else to stuff it, because sometimes it is all about you.
There we have it right there. Tell them to stuff it. There we go.
It's said by a mother who, has a healthy dose of mother guilt all the time. But sometimes you have to do something for yourself. And maybe this is that time. There
we have it right there. All right. Sunday is Lisa Crespo, the president of American Needlepoint Guild. Terrific conversation with Lisa to learn that the American Needlepoint Guild is making some big changes and doing a lot of things that are very positive. And so we're going to get to hear from Lisa and get updated on what's going on with that organization. So really excited about that. So that's coming up Sunday, and we're out of time. That's it. We're done. We'll talk to you Sunday with Lisa and be back next Wednesday, the two of us, to, that. Okay.
Brilliant. Professional. Well done.
Thank you.